Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stock Market Show. This is your host, Shades. As always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Feel free to join the Discord, patreon.com/shadesandtrades, 50% off. Now let's talk about PLTR Stock. PLTR Stock did something important today. The market is ripping, but here's what's important. You see that MACD down there? You see that white line? I developed my strategies so that anyone with a pair of eyeballs can execute on them. This strategy is very simple. White line crosses over the yellow line on the MACD indicator on the weekly time frame. Well, what do you think is going to happen next? Let's look at the past. What do you see? Do you see it? Because I see it. I know my strategy very well. The last time we crossed over, we not only continued to pump, but we went to all-time highs. So from the current price, if we were to grab our price range tool, assuming you buy at like 107, 108 to all-time highs, you stand to make about 15 to 17%. That's if you're willing to buy and hold. Let's scroll backwards a little bit. And what do you see? The last time before that, these crossovers rarely happen. But when they do, it's opportunity. But you gotta be willing to hold. So here's another, here's another cross. Here's a fake out cross under. Crossover here. And what happened? From $30, and it just kept going. I mean, here it finally had a decent pullback. So from $30 to 85, pulled back to 66, where it eventually crossed over again, led to the all-time highs. So when these happen, they're no joke. But you got to keep in mind, what time frame am I looking at? I am looking at the weekly time frame. So this is going to play out over the course of a couple of weeks. If the stock pulls back, it might take a little longer, but we get there. We get to that point where we go to all-time highs for a nice 15% or more. We also have earnings coming up as well. That might affect the price. Either way, this is a good signal from the markets as a whole. Palantir showed the most strength. This is the only one of the few stocks, I should say. Not the only one, but one of the few stocks that pulled back all the way to the 200 and never actually went below it. The one time it did go below it briefly, it got bought up real quick. And since then has not seen. In fact, we might even call this you can call this maybe a double bottom. You can maybe call this a cup right here, maybe a handle. Maybe. If you want to talk patterns, I rarely talk about patterns, but I mean, look at this. It just never every time it's come down under that weighted moving average, it's always a buy. And you still have opportunity here to buy. Well, it's still cheap because I believe this one will eventually go from where it is right now to 250, which is a nice 2x. So really, you got to figure out. I mean, you can do both, right? You can buy for 250 for the 100% gains, and you can also buy some for a flip to take advantage of the upward movement that's to come. Now, this is all technicals. Obviously, if something happens in the world, maybe Trump says something, maybe China does something, whatever the case may be, everything could easily reverse. We've seen that already. So either way, if we just go off, let's say you don't look at news and you just look at you're just a bot. White line crosses over, yellow line, I buy. It's a buy. I'm actually going to buy this one tomorrow. I'm going to give it one more day. Because tomorrow ends the week, right? Does that make sense? Tomorrow's Friday. So tomorrow's the end of the week. Tomorrow I would expect maybe some pullback. So I want to buy the dip tomorrow. If we dip. If we continue. If we close on a strong green candle, that'd be great. But as you can see here, there's a pullback. So usually there's a pullback. But maybe, here it didn't pull back at all. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow to buy. And I'll be going in and I'll be going for the 15%. 15% is 15%, man. You put 10 grand, that's 1,500. I might also add some for the bigger swing. We'll see. Because I'm kind of stuck between Palantir and NVIDIA. NVIDIA is another one where it has not gotten its signal yet. But, I mean, if Palantir is getting its signal, maybe NVIDIA is going to get its signal real soon. And buying right now in anticipation of that signal would mean we get in a little earlier compared to getting in at the signal. So, again, I'm going to give it one more day. And I'll be going in big on NVIDIA. And I'll be going in on Palantir for a flip, for sure. Those are the two game plans. But I want to see if I can buy the dip tomorrow, if it does dip. That's the game plan. When I developed my strategies, I was like, how can I keep this as simple as possible? And I looked at that white line. I looked at that yellow line, and I said, if it crosses over on the weekly, and as long as you're willing to hold for a few weeks, maybe a few months, you're going to make money as long as you're buying good companies. Because keep in mind, I'm only talking about Palantir and NVIDIA. You know, you're not gonna hear me talk about this strategy on something like Mullen. You're never gonna hear me go, hey guys, Mullen stock, wait for the crossover on the weekly and it's a buy. I mean, it crossed over here and it just kept tanking anyways. So that's not a very reliable stock to use this signal on. It only works on good companies that continue to climb higher over the long term. They continue to trend over the long term. And that's why this signal is so reliable. Something that doesn't trend over the long term, well, like Mullen, it just keeps falling. Even if you get the crossover signal, it's nothing more than a signal that it's just going to keep falling. So do not use this strategy that's super it's brainless. It really is. A white line crosses a yellow line. Like, you don't got to be the brightest light bulb. Because I'm not the brightest light bulb. That's why I need something simple. 12, 26, 4. Wow, I just gave you the easiest strategy ever. And you can apply this to any good company. Let's look at Apple here. It's a good company. It still hasn't crossed over. So, you know, who knows what's going on there. Microsoft. Ooh, look at Microsoft about to cross over. You know, it's on its way, right? But Palantir... Again, the reason Palantir is crossing over first is because it's the one that shows the most strength. Not only in bear markets, but in bull markets. As we've seen already, it's skyrocketed from lows of 5s to highs of 125. The fact that it never even stayed under the 200 weighted moving average and immediately got bought up and is being pushed up and maybe forming a cup and handle here, this is as bullish as it can get. Again, it's the weekly time frame. Gonna have to hold. Gonna have to be patient. Other than that, my personal price target. Let me look at the price targets from the suckers here. The suckers. Let me see what these suckers have to say. Ratings. $80. Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting 80. 95. These guys always underestimate how much the share price can surge. 120. Maybe that's actually reasonable. Okay, these guys are idiots. These people, I don't know, how do you become an analyst? Do they actually get finance degrees and all that? So, okay, they're idiots. Let me show you the real deal here. All right, here's the real price target. 250. Because the market is irrational. And it's going to go up there. It's going to go to 250, I promise you. I mean, we can see Microsoft at 386, MSTR at 345, Apple at 207, Tesla at 257 despite having horrible earnings. Palantir is a monster. Way better than Tesla at this point. I give it a price target of 250. So a nice 100%er plus if you're willing to buy and hold for the price target. Short term, a good flip for 15% to all-time highs. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I believe it will, though. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. Because I'm going off of what time frame? The daily and the weekly. I don't look at smaller time frames. I play the bigger time frames. Sometimes I even look at the monthly and go, what's going on in the monthly? Whoa, this thing just keeps going higher and higher. This thing has there's no stopping it. Let's look at the quarterly. Whoa, again, let's look at the yearly. Oh my goodness. This thing is headed towards being the next NVIDIA at this point. It's not the next NVIDIA, it is the next NVIDIA. It's already at a higher share price than Nvidia. Well, technically speaking, but we know that Nvidia did a forward stock split. I would expect Palantir to not only skyrocket to 1,000 at some point, which sounds crazy to say, and people won't believe it till they see it, right? Nobody saw Nvidia going to 1,000, and it did. So I see Palantir, 10 years at 1,000, and then it does a forward stock split if it wants to give shareholders opportunity to buy at 100 again, because 100 is going to look cheap in the future. I promise you. That's and I'm just going off the technicals. I'm just going off of not only technicals. I've seen the fundamentals, and I've seen the comparisons here to Nvidia. I've seen this before with Nvidia. It's almost too similar. I think this one's going to go to 1,000, 5 to 10 years. So that's my price target for the 5 to 10 year mark. All right, that's it. You can call me crazy, but when we start going to all-time highs, 125, then 200, 250, you're going to be like, oh man, how does this guy know? I don't. But, analysts give out these ridiculous price targets of 80 and 95. So clearly you can just throw a number out there. And if you're right, woohoo. You can tell they're being conservative. They don't want to give out too big of a price. But I think this is going to go to 250. 5 to 10 years, 1,000. Then they do a forward stock split. It'll come back down to like 100, 150. That's it for the video. It's a buy. If you want something safe that has been performing very well quarter to quarter and year over year.